What's up, everybody? It's Eddie G, and today we're talking about one of my favorite and least used 35mm film cameras, the Olympus Pen FT. This is one of the most unique 35mm film cameras I have ever shot with personally, because it does one very cool thing in that it shoots half frame. So instead of like your square landscape mode, essentially you're shooting like vertical and you're shooting like half a frame, so you're getting two vertical essentially images inside of like a half frame. I'm not like the most like techie nerd aspect ratio type people and all that. I am for like film shooting video, but not photography stuff, you know. I kind of just do whatever. But back to the camera. This camera is amazing because it does one thing really well, which is it engages your creativity. And what I mean by that is when you're shooting your vertical frame, your half frame, essentially what you're doing is pairing your two images that you're shooting for your one frame. So you can shoot like this nice close-up kind of portrait video, portrait photo of somebody, and then you can back up and get like a wide shot of them interacting with their environment, or something that just kind of relates to the subject. So you're just pairing your two like opposite images and kind of creating something, some type of story, whatever, out of that. And I love that. That's absolutely awesome. And it's absolutely like a different way to approach film photography, or my film photography process in general. So how this works with me and my workflow is that whenever I'm shooting, I'm always thinking of what image can go with what I want to shoot. If I want to shoot a street sign, what can I pair with that street sign that just relates to it in general? If I want to shoot a person, what can I shoot alongside of that just relates to that, whether it's like a husband and a wife or some kid playing with a toy, a camera and a lens, I don't know. But however you choose to like shoot whatever subject you're shooting, you always just have to be thinking how you want to pair those two images. And like even some cool little tricks you can do is just like, instead of just the two frames, you can kind of do three. So it's just like, all right, what image do I want on the left, right, and middle, and how can I pair those three images together? I'm not sure if I've 100% done something like that, but I've been able, just going through my rolls, to I've been able to kind of pair three images, and it's just worked out just fine. So absolutely love this camera. Just a quick overview of the actual body itself. I have the 38mm 1.8 Olympus Zuiko I don't know how to say the name, it don't matter. But lens does come off, but this lens is dope because it drops to 1.8 all the way up to 16, and it's incredibly sharp. Have not, oh my god, just thinking about the sharpness of this camera, boy, it's so nasty. It's fresh. But images even down to like 1.8 to whatever, very sharp. Obviously at 16 it's just, you know, obviously just gonna look ridiculous. But has a little self timer on here, which I really like. And then it has a shutter speed and ISO dial, which is just this little dial right here on the side, that you can toggle and adjust to whatever you need. And then you have your film advance lever, shutter button right here, which I kind of like just the way this camera looks is like, it just says it's unique in its own way, just from when you pick it up to when you look through the viewfinder and everything. It does have a light meter in it, but this one does not work. Honestly, actually I haven't tested it out, so I can't say that's true. I don't really care to test it out because I use an external light meter. But just everything about this camera, from the way you advance the film to just where the shutter is and how it looks, and just adjusting the shutter button and adjusting the shutter speed and ISO dial and everything just about this camera, even the way you take off the lens is kind of funky. It's very unique, and inside how you load the film and all that. The cons with this camera are the ISO and the shutter speed. The shutter speed only goes up to 500th of a second, and the ISO only goes up to 400. So whenever you're shooting, I usually push my film. I kind of just have to like compensate that in my mind. So I just like kind of set it to 400, the ISO 400, and then I kind of just adjust the shutter speed a stop or two over to kind of just compensate or whatever, and the IS and the aperture. So we'll try to focus there. Almost had a brain fart. Other than that, camera works great. I got this one used a long time ago. I've put a few rolls through it, a lot of rolls through it, but I just haven't put too many through it, because another con on my end is that since you are shooting 24 frames, you kind of just have to know this when you pick up the camera. A roll of 24 frames is doubled to 48 frames because you're only shooting half a frame. So I believe the advanced in here goes up to 48 or 46. I'm not 100% sure. But then if you're shooting like a 36 roll, you know, you kind of just, you got a lot of photos you're going to be taking there. I could be wrong on the whole thing. Correct me if I'm wrong. In terms of the numbers that you actually see on like the little dial here. But other than that, there's really no issues that I have with this camera. My lens is really clean, really love it. My only thing, my viewfinder is a little cracked and a little like hazy and fungusy inside. So like, well, it's not fungusy, but it is a little dirty inside there. It just needs to be cleaned up, or else I could go blind from like constantly putting this thing up to my eye. But other than that, I just hope you enjoy the photos you see. This camera is great if you're ever looking forward to like something like this, or if you're just a film shooter in general and you want to try out some type of like unique camera. I highly recommend testing out this camera. If you have a friend, if you can rent one, friend that has this camera or anything like that, it's definitely worth putting one roll through and just like testing your creativity, changing your thought process in terms of just like a role you're shooting, or some type of subject or whatever you're shooting, and just come at it with a different approach. But other than that, this is a great camera. Absolutely love it. Peace and Afro Grease.